All right, and welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm sure you're wondering whether I can, in fact, swing from a web and do all things spider-like. I cannot. For those wondering.
I tend to find the theme tune that matches me the most is Spider Pig rather than Spider-Man.
I think that's disappointing, but fair.
But what's even worse is people can't hold me to the ceiling and let me crawl across it.
It would prove, listen, unless like the Big Show's listening.
To be honest, I think even he would struggle now. He's getting on a bit.
Or actual Spider-Man.
But guys, as you may or may have not have noticed from our ramblings early on, we are talking about the one and only web crawler, Spider-Man.
Are you saying the hyphen? It sounds like you're not saying the hyphen, and it feels like it's really important. Which, by the way, for you super nerds...
So you think there needs to be a dramatic pause between Spider and Man? It's Spider-Man.
Just for you super nerds, that's a direct reference to the comics.
Also, do you think nowadays it should be Spider-Person? I feel like there's no like postmen or post-women anymore. It's post-person.
Well, yeah, but that's like a job title. This is a name he picked.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not quite politically correct.
It features a pronoun. It's not like pronoun dependent though, is it? It's not like...
Well, I've personally think it's... Well, no, did he really name himself?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like in the films it's left up to interpretation.
When Gwen Stacy takes over and she's Spider-Gwen. It's not Spider-Man.
Yeah, all right. Well, look, we need to set ground rules straight off the bat. Today we're going to talk about the Spider-Man live-action films.
Yeah, and we have to limit it to that because I have a personal affinity to the 94 Spider-Man cartoons, and obviously Into the Spider-Verse is one of the greatest comic book movies.
Both of which I've not seen. I do want to see Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, it's one of the best.
And to be fair, I actually did some preparation in the run-up to this because I wanted to be prepared because, we take this seriously. Well, at least I do. But
yeah, no. Fucking tell them how seriously you take it. No, fucking tell them how seriously, right? Because I'll tell you now, and you'll see, if you're watching it, you'll see the notes, right? So just before we get here today, he turns to me and he goes, oh, so I didn't know, like, what you wanted to run through and talk through. He's like, I've got a few lists of, like, I think, things we can rank. And it's like, oh, hang on a minute, because you didn't fucking tell me any of these. So you've had time to go away and think about them, knowing full well what you wanted to come here and discuss, knowing full well that I'm just going to have to rely on the fact that I am a bit of a nerd and I do know these films quite well.
Well, first of all, one, I knew you were a nerd and knew the films quite well. Secondly, in the past, when we've covered subjects and I've come with notes, you haven't had notes, and vice versa as well. You've come prepared and I haven't. So I didn't really, one, want to break tradition, but two, I had faith in your knowledge of the Spider-Man universe.
Well, I mean, basically what there will be today is a lot of rambling.
That and also...
a lot of padding.
What else do I get to have a slide dig at you about?
Loads of things. I'm quite short. I'm not very successful in certain fields.
To be fair, you can't help being short.
Dexterously challenged, I think, at times.
Dexterously challenged. Fair enough. Well, anyway, I think we're getting a little bit off topic here. What were we talking about again, Jake?
Spider-Man. Yeah, Spider-Man. Live action.
Yeah, the live action films. So I think there's probably the best place to start is, what's your favourite film out of all of them?
It's a really, really good one, and I'll tell you now, it's a really tough one. So I'm just going to kind of, obviously, because it's a pod and we have to talk. I'll talk through some of them. Okay. I was too young for the 1977, 78, 81 Spider-Man films, right?
I think it's fair to say when we say the live action films, which I mean personally, it's from Toby Maguire.
Fuck that! I'm ranking them. I'm including them. You told me. We're ranking the live-action Spider-Man.
Can I be quite honest? I didn't know there was a Spider-Man film pre-Toby.
Wow, let's just hope Nicholas Hammond is dead so he doesn't have to hear you completely mug him the fuck off.
Is he dead?
I don't know, I didn't look up that much. I mean, Christ almighty, you've come with the notes. You should know these things. I should be asking you.
Well, I didn't look up the history of Spider-Man. I literally sat down with a bit of pen and paper and wrote down rankings of bits and pieces from the films.
But, so the first, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man does obviously hold a special place because I was like, what would I have been, about 9? The Toby Maguire one. So I was about 9 when they came out, and I was just the right age. Yeah. Spider-Man is one of those heroes that so many people relate to. He's loads of people's favourites. He's certainly my favourite. I found him a very relatable character. So to see him on screen, it was a really special thing. However, for me, the latest Spider-Man at point of recording, so obviously they have released the trailer for No Way Home.
Yeah. But obviously it's not out for
And
release yet, so we haven't
I
seen
really
that.
love The Amazing Spider-Man as well. Oh, certainly The Amazing Spider-Man. I happily sat and watched that like 3 times in the first week I saw it.
Oh, really?
No
What,
problem.
the
I was
Andrew
just
Garfield
back to
number
back it,
one?
loved it. But I think Far From Home, the MCU one, is probably my favourite one. And the reason is because Mysterio is one of my personal favourite Spider-Man villains.
Yeah.
And I thought they handled him really, really well. Visually, it was stunning, and it was
very
just like
well
a comic
done.
book.
I can't disagree with that. And to be fair, Jake Gyllenhaal is just a phenomenal actor
He's
as well.
brilliant.
So you bring him into any film, and he's gonna knock the socks off of it. So no, I would agree. Mysterio definitely
But
up there.
what about you? Favourite Spider-Man film?
I've got to say, probably it's got to be one of the Toby Maguire ones, and I would say it's number 2 for me.
It's a very common choice, and it's not a bad choice.
And that's not to take anything away from the Tom Holland films. One of my notes was I would probably say, out of all the Spider-Men, he's almost at the top for me, but not for various reasons. And I think his films overall are probably better in terms of cinematically, who's in them, how they're done. But I didn't particularly like the first one that he did.
The Vulture.
Yeah, with Michael Keaton. I can't remember.
And Shocker. And I mean, and the Tinkerer. And we got some great Spider-Man villains in
Well,
that.
the thing was, before watching this, because the only time I'd seen that one beforehand was when we were actually in Cyprus together. We sat and watched it on a Cody box in the villa we were staying at. And I fell asleep watching it, so that was sort of my memory of it. So I sat and watched it again recently in the last few days just to sort of refresh it. And I sort of felt the same about it. It didn't really grab me. There were some good moments, but overall, no, it wasn't. I think it's probably one of the weaker ones for me. But in terms of the second one that he did, it's definitely better because of Mysterio, but still not top for me.
Fair enough. Well, I'd move it on, but I don't have a fucking list.
Right, well, let me have a quick pad for me, Jake, for a second.
So, guys, Spider-Man debut. Never mind. I don't have to act as if I know that figure. I think he debuted in 1962. To be honest, the nerd people would call me on that. But
well, before we start going into the best, should we talk about worsts? So, out of all the
worst Spider-Man films.
Well, you can do a film. I was going to start with villain.
Worst villain.
And when I say villain, I mean mainly like main villain. But if it's one of the small side villains, it might be a bit more difficult to argue that.
That is tough. I would be drawn to... I'll tell you what the worst villain, the one for me, and it's a lot of people disliked it, was I think the villains in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I didn't like their Green Goblin, and I really didn't like their Electro because they went straight to Hyper Electro, because they didn't do normal Electro.
Yeah.
And they went straight to Hyper Electro, and it was like, bro...
Well, and
go on,
it's funny, I've put 1 and number 2, Dane DeHaan's Green Goblin and Electro. And the thing is, it has nothing to do with the actors, because I like both those actors. I like Jamie Foxx and I like Dane DeHaan. But like you, I thought... What I disliked, because I watched that film again as well, was it feels very rushed. Like the whole film, a lot happens in that film, because obviously, I mean, spoiler alert.
No, it suffers exactly the same thing, and we'll obviously expand into this when we start talking more about it, or maybe we won't, maybe that boat sailed. It suffers with the Spider-Man 3 syndrome of trying to do too much in one film. Yeah. So it's trying to do the Green Goblin storyline, the Electro storyline. It's also trying to set up the Sinister Six. It's also trying to do Peter's dad.
Yeah.
And you get all this stuff that just ends up, because they have to cut bits of it. And so even if you watch the deleted scenes, which obviously I have, we all can pretty much know that if a deleted scene of a nerd thing like Star Wars or superheroes, I've probably fucking seen it. But even though you watch them all, they still feels like we're going off paths that are just turned into cul-de-sacs because they don't go anywhere.
Yeah, and it felt busy for the sake of being busy. Instead of doing one thing really well, like if they'd have focused on Harry's Green Goblin or Electro, just focus on that. Because literally, I think Electro becomes Electro in the space of about 15 minutes in the film. And it's far too rushed.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with Spider-Man 3. It's they jump straight into this, like they're trying to do the Sandman thing, and he's got a whole big arc in that, the Sandman thing, because it's like his daughter, and there's this real moral question of who's in the right, who's in the wrong, when's a crime, and when's it sort of okay. So you've got all that, then you've got the connection back to Uncle Ben, then you've got the Harry Osborne revenge arc, then you've got the ever running story of trouble with MJ, and you've just got all these things, and you've got the whole him questioning his old rollers, and it's just way too much.
And then they throw in Venom into it as well.
And the Venom arc.
Yeah, and to be honest, probably the worst cast Venom we've had so far by far.
I didn't mind Topher Grace as Venom.
I didn't.
As Eddie Brock, anyway, I didn't mind him.
Well, yeah, as Venom-y shit, to be honest. I don't think like he had the physical presence to pull it off, because Venom's supposed to be quite an intimidating character.
Yeah, he is.
Whereas like Tom Hardy's far more believable.
I don't think he has the... But equally, though, the different, the obvious difference is that Tom Hardy's been given a whole film to expand and explore the character.
No, that's 100% fair. But I think in terms of if you would choose, like, if I was going to make a Spider-Man film now, and who would I have as Venom? I'm not going to bring out.
Right? Can we just say, so excited to see Woody Harrelson as Carnage?
He's going to be good.
Please,
Woody Harrelson's done.
Yeah, seriously, super excited for that.
I also put Topher Grace as my third worst villain on the list, to be fair. I don't know who yours would be. I think we're agreed on 1 and 2 in terms of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 villains.
It's a good question. Yeah, it probably would be. I mean, to be fair, I'm not in preparation for this. Like, so I sort of watched the tiniest bit when we said we're going to do this, the 1977 Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man. That's not a great villain.
Okay, fair enough.
But having said that, at the time there was nothing to compare it to superhero wise. Not really. I mean, Captain America had a fucking crash helmet on. That was his thing. You know what I mean? And so there's not much to compare it to. And also, when you look at the CGI and stuff that's available now, and even the practical effects, you're quite limited in what you can get away with. And the superheroes now are cool and they're slick, but they were super cheesy
back in the... They were clunky back in the day.
Back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, they were. And then it was only really in the 90s when people like, I can't think of his, but when like comics like Spawn came along and stuff like that, and they did a good, and maybe a little bit earlier in the 80s when Frank Miller got onto like the Daredevil stuff and some of the Punisher storylines, they started to get like, okay, superheroes are cool again. But
it's because it's adding a dark element to the story, isn't it?
But obviously, even in, like in the 70s, when the Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man came out, what it really is it's a case of the only other superheroes that people are still comparing it to are Adam West Batman.
Yeah.
So they're like, what do superheroes need to be? Colourful, camp, for kids.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I never watched Adam West Batman, but obviously I've seen clips of it and I've seen bits of it over the years, and it never appealed to me. But all right, let's move on to... right, who do you think the best aunt and or uncle is?
Okay, I'll tell you now, the best Aunt May, for me, Sally Fields.
Oh, mate, I'm so
because
glad you said that. I didn't want to have to argue that.
She is
I really didn't.
phenomenal.
She is.
And I think the thing against Marissa Tomei, I think I like what they're doing with her.
She's too hot.
But she's super hot.
She's too hot, man.
I shouldn't be getting a boner over Aunt May. I shouldn't be. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were times during the Sam Raimi ones where I did get a bit of a semi on over Aunt May. I'm only human.
I've got her name, Rosemary Harris.
I'm only human.
Really?
When Doc Ock's taken up the thing, you get a little upskirt. I'm only human. No, but seriously, like she's like really young and pretty and stuff, and it's like that's great, but it's not Aunt May.
No.
I do like what they're doing with having said that.
Yeah, but I think also, to be fair, that version of Peter Parker is supposed to be a younger version, and they deliberately wanted a younger version of Aunt May. For me,
the Rosemary Harris one is they've literally just cropped it straight out of the comic books, which on the one hand people love. They're like comic accuracy, but on the other hand, it's like it doesn't work brilliantly for film. It's all right, but
I think she was
Sally Fields packs more of a punch emotionally.
I think Rosemary Harris's one was a bit more of a preachy Aunt May. She was quite a bit.
She was still great. Don't get me wrong. She was still, and she worked for the Mcguire thing.
Field for me is a like Oscar level actress for me.
Agreed.
So I think it's very difficult for anyone to
top her.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think without a doubt, I put number 1 Sally Field.
Okay.
Number 2 Marissa Tomei, and just simply although because she's too hot, she's hot enough that she's
hot enough that she's bumped up. Yeah. So she's like she's the worst Aunt May, but she's kind of hot. She gets a bonus point. She jumps over whoever's
I'm sorry.
there.
I'm a simple man. That's just how I feel about it.
Wow.
What about you? Would you put her third then? underneath.
I would, yeah.
I think
I
that's
would.
fair. I mean, I'm just doing it on a very shallow level, so I think I could bend on that.
I want to say this. I think we've been incredibly blessed in terms of the actors that have come to these roles.
Yeah.
When you look at the villains, everyone from Alfred Molina to Willem Dafoe to to the newer ones, to Jake Gyllenhaal, or however you are meant to say his name, to Michael Keaton, we have had. And then these guys, so the three Aunt Mays we've just mentioned, Marissa Tomei, Rosemary Harris, and Sally Field, are all incredible actors. And the Spider-Man, Toby Maguire, and I notice everyone does the Toby Maguire eye thing, but the Toby Maguire and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland are all very talented actors. And I just want to say that I don't think, as where we're ranking the system, we're being critical for the sake of being critical, because they are all.
I mean, this is a very casual conversation. I don't think this is something we're getting very passionate about, and I don't think if they heard us talking about it, which I think is very unlikely, I don't think it would come across as if we're not giving people their due. I think they're all talented actors. Obviously, you don't get to that level unless you are. We'll get onto it when we talk about best Spider-Man. I think we'll probably leave that to last, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you've done the prep, you tell me, right?
Right, so we've done best aunt, best uncle. It's only two. I know who mine is.
It's a tough one. Because the thing is, because Uncle Ben literally has like
a very
3
limited
scenes
role.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would say I can't split them.
Really? See, I go Martin Sheen.
Oh no, I'll tell you. Oh no, because then that's it. No, ignore me.
Why? What was your thought?
All I was going to say was I got really emotional during Uncle Ben's death scene in The Amazing Spider-Man, the Michael Sheen one.
Yeah.
But that wasn't so much over Michael Sheen. That was Andrew Garfield acting during that scene.
Oh, see,
It was phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I think both of them. I mean, Andrew Garfield's gone on to. Am I wrong in thinking he's won an Oscar?
I don't think he has won an Oscar.
I swear he won it for Hacksaw Ridge, best actor.
He might have. I mean, I
mean, I'm just bringing it up for the sake of saying that. Yeah, he is a quality actor. I know he got nominated for it at the very least. But I agree with you.
Well, to be fair, Toby Maguire won an Oscar for his role in the priest thing.
What priest?
You know, about the priests touching each other that he did with Kirk Lazarus.
No, I've not.
And
that's not what my circles run through, I'm afraid.
No?
Well, I don't watch a lot of...
what, Tropic Thunder?
I have seen Tropic Thunder.
The priest film that he does.
Oh, is he in that? Does he do a little...
Oh, no, tell a lie. He loses it to Ben Stiller's character.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So he's not one of us. I'll take it back.
Oh,
I've sidetracked for nothing. Killed a minute,
come
though,
up
didn't
with
it?
a very, very niche reference.
Killed a minute.
Yeah, fair. But just honourable mention to number 2, to Cliff Robertson as second best.
Yeah, because I can't split him.
I just remember not thinking a lot of him in that film. Obviously, it's sad he dies, but I think when you watch The Amazing Spider-Man, it feels far more emotional when he dies in that film for me. But right, so best femme fatale, best female protagonist, the main lady, love interest. I mean, again, there's only really
Go
two.
on, you do yours first. I've been going first. You go first.
I think for me,
there's 3.
I put Gwen Stacy at number 1. I think on balance, Emma Stone is probably a better actor or actress.
Well, what they had going in their favour. Well, I know you. I mean, you can.
Well, also when you find out that Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield are romantically involved, I think that
their on-screen chemistry was that much better.
Absolutely, but I also think the character themselves back then, when the Toby Maguire films came out, they were far more traditional films in the sense that the woman's the damsel in distress and the man comes to rescue her, and that was very much the case for every single film. She was forever getting into trouble and needing Spider-Man's help, whereas with Gwen it sort of felt like she was just there on the sidelines, and then in the second one she helps him and obviously tragically dies. And I think ultimately that's why I don't like the Amazing Spider-Man films as much as the Tobey Maguire ones, is because they killed...
Because you want your women helpless. You want your women as damsels in distress. You're very
No, I'm saying the opposite.
And you're not progressive.
No. What I'm saying is I liked Gwen Stacy, and when they killed her off, it really pissed me off. So that put them below. Just off of that,
Spoilers.
At least Peter ends up with Mary Jane. I can't remember now. At the end of the third one.
Oh, there's a really beautiful No, there's loads of beautiful moments. Anyway, yeah, crack on. Yeah, for
What
me.
about you?
Again, see the thing, not to do Kirsten Dunst. Again, she's an incredible actress, and she plays the role really well. By the way, it's a really good, well written role and whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that works against her compared to the other two is that Zendaya and Tom Holland and Gwen Stacy, and Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield were dating. We know that at the time of filming, and Zendaya and Tom Holland. There's lots of rumors about them dating, but their chemistry is incredible as well.
Yeah, see, I felt like in the films...
My problem is that they went MJ.
Yeah, I think for me, the reason I didn't include the young lady from the Tom Holland films is simply because I don't really see her as a love interest in the film, because I don't think that's really how they play her. She's more of a sidekick with a love interest on the side, so I sort of see her as a potential ally to Spider-Man rather than just a love interest, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess.
And also in the films, they haven't really got together.
Well, they have.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, at the end of Far From Home.
Oh, fair enough. I forgot that bit. Fair enough. Came really prepared.
Yeah, you really did. I mean, fucking hell, it's a good job I am here. It's a good job I've watched the movies.
I still sort of maintain what I said, though. I prefer Gwen Stacy still.
I like that we've got together though, and we're like, you've sort of like this idea of like, let's talk about Spider-Man.
Having a dig
and
for
what's
you being
happened?
prepared.
What's happened is we've gone, should we talk about Spider-Man? Yeah. Have you seen them? No. I think that'll be a problem though.
Thing is, I have seen the film, and I thought that one was fresher in my head.
Well, clearly not.
But apparently not.
No. Do you know what I mean? Listen, I don't have any notes. I'll tell you what I can. I'll spring one on you. What's your favourite Spider-Man costume? Unless you already have that ready lined up.
No, I didn't even
Yeah,
think to
boy.
ask that one.
Yeah,
So no, it's a good one. You'd have to go Tom Holland, I guess, in the one that Tony Stark. No, I prefer the one in Far From Home when is it Friday's the voice in his ear?
Yeah, Karen.
Well, he names her Karen, but is it the same voice as Friday?
No.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I felt it was quite similar. But anyway, yeah, I prefer that suit because I just thought, like he has the drone, and I'm not a big fan of it. Looks cool, the Iron Spider suit, but I feel it's sort of not.
I think the Tom Holland suits are probably my least favourite out of the ones on screen.
That's fair.
And my favourite, the only reason that the Amazing Spider-Man edges it, and you'd arguably people write and go, well, that's not fair. That's not to do with the suit. That's to do with the direction they took the character. Is that because Toby Maguire has organic web shooters? He doesn't actually have to have web shooters, but the fact that Andrew Garfield has web shooters just takes it over the edge for me.
Okay, but that's fair. So you don't like Toby Maguire as much because he's a spider more naturally.
I mean, we'll come into that at the end, yeah, but
see, in terms of like how in depth I've gone, I've not gone to like who can sling webs level. But right, so the next one I wanted to ask was most memorable moment in the movies.
I mean, right, okay. Jesus, we better go through yours, hadn't you, while I think
Well, to be fair, I've literally only written two, the two that really stand out to me when I think about the films. My second one is Gwen's death, and I've put next to it, what the fuck? Because personally, I didn't see it coming. It's quite emotional when you watch it. And it's funny, when I was watching it the other day, you can tell they made it for 3D, that scene, because of all the bits flying at the screen as she's falling. And then I put at number one the Toby Maguire moment where he stops the train.
Iconic, no doubt iconic.
And for me, it's not just the stopping of the train, it's afterwards when the people stop him falling off of the train, they see his face and then give him his mask back. And I think that's quite a touching moment in the films.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's it. When they're like, he's just a kid, I'm my kid and whatever. Yeah. And when Doc Ock steps in and they all step around him, it's a beautiful moment. Yeah, no, I think that's got to be up there. I think the little moments that I really enjoy are always in like Spider-Man 2, when it alludes to the bigger things. So when J. Jonah Jameson is talking about he's like trying to name Dr. Octopus, and he's like, oh, Doctor Strange. He's like, oh, but Taken. I'm like, oh, and just alludes to it. That some of the shot for shots. So when he's got the suit half hanging out the the garbage can.
Yeah.
That's a great kind of shot. I really like the bit in. I think there's two moments in the Amazing Spider-Man that I really really love. One, when Andrew Garfield is like chasing down muggers. He's literally going after the guy who he thinks is.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he's in the car with the guy, and he's like,
the
go for the door, no,
pulls the
go for the
knife.
door, no, go. And when he pulls the knife, he goes, oh no, my
You
weapon,
found my one
small
witness.
knives. Oh. I love that moment, and I really like the moment with the kid when he's saving the kid who's in the car going over the bridge, and he kind of gives him his mask, and he's like, would this make you feel better?
Strong. Yeah.
And I think that's a really sweet moment. Then I'm trying to sort of like pick moments from each of them. Yeah, that moment's iconic. I think the Goblin's death in Spider-Man 1, when he kind of goes, oh, when Spider-Man's like, I have been bested.
Yeah.
Is a really nice moment. I think the deaths, both deaths.
Yeah, I think both.
All deaths.
Yeah, I think the Uncle Ben deaths are both quite hard in both. I think another moment I just thought of, it's at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it's when he's obviously been moping around for 6 months, and then that little kid steps out into the road to take on
stop Rhino. Can I go backtrack and say that's my least favourite Spider-Man villain, by the way? Can I completely backtrack on that? I forgot about him.
Well, no, I don't think you can really class him as a villain. Really.
Paul Giamatti, great actor.
Yeah.
Shocking
Yeah,
decision.
I mean, I always sort of maintained, I felt what let things down for Andrew Garfield was everything around him rather than anything to do with whether he was a good Spider-Man or not. And I don't even think necessarily the casting was wrong around him. It was the story, the way it was delivered, or squeezing too much in.
I'll say this is a moment again that I really enjoy from The Amazing Spider-Man. It seems like if everyone's going to be like, have you only ever watched The Amazing Spider-Man? Like, but it's really nice. I really like the moment. For me, it packs a lot of really good memorable moments. So there's the bit when, at the end, when he's promised Captain Stacy that he won't see his daughter, and he'll stay away for her own good.
Yeah.
And he comes into class, and his teacher sort of says, Parker, why are you always late? And he goes, sorry, it won't happen again. And she goes, don't make promises you can't keep. And he goes, but those are the best ones. And it's like a really nice...
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think it's his fault Gwen died?
No. Of course not. Do you?
Tiny bit.
Wow. You're salty, bro.
He made her dad a promise, didn't keep it, and then she died.
Died anyway.
But to be fair, I mean, you do get the moment in the film where she's literally like, I make my own fucking choices, not you. So she knew what she was doing. So, right, any more memorable moments you want to mention?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any sort of from the first ones that are really, good and memorable. I tell you what, we can't not mention if we're talking about the Spider-Man films.
What's that?
Peter dancing down the street.
Oh, it's one of the most... To be honest...
Memorable, though. You never said good or bad.
No, absolutely.
Memorable.
No, I'm not discrediting you bringing it up. I just had completely forgotten about it. It's one of... I remember being a kid watching that, thinking it was one of the cringiest things I'd ever seen in my life. Have you ever... I mean, just to change subject slightly, have you ever heard about the rumours about Toby Maguire off-screen?
No.
It's nothing like... It's not like Me Too stuff, so I don't feel like I'm being salacious and bringing anything up. Have you ever seen a film called Molly's Game?
No.
It's a film about a woman who set up a poker game in a couple of cities and made like...
Is that Charlize Theron? No, not Charlize Theron.
No, it's Jessica Chastain plays
her
in the
Jessica
movie.
Chastain, yeah.
It's a really good film and I'd recommend it to anyone. It's just quite fascinating. And he's never named.
So is she paying us to promote it? I just feel like we should be really careful about what we put out on the pod.
Oh, what? Since when? How many people did we insult last week, Jake, and you're worried about?
I took some of them back. I took some of them back.
Very few.
Yeah, not many, but some.
But yeah, so the film's about a woman who sets up a poker game and there's this absolute bastard in the film and she calls him Player X. And the only hint she gives to who it is she calls him a green-screened little shit. Because she refuses to name the majority of the people that played in her game for various reasons. And obviously I'm not going to get into it because it's quite a long film and that's not the purpose of this episode.
You're not going to do what I had last week.
I then sort of did some researching online to see who was rumoured. It's rumoured it's sort of a mixture of two people, they reckon, and it's the main one was Toby Maguire. And in the film, and apparently in real life, and it's true, he's a massive poker player off screen. And he's made a lot of money playing poker, and he plays it basically because he likes destroying people's lives. and he screws her over in it and sort of ruins things for her and sends her on a spiral, basically because she didn't give him enough attention. So, like, would that affect what you'd think of him? Or?
I mean, absolutely not. Couldn't give a shit about poker. Couldn't give a shit about anything associated with it.
Fair enough. I just thought,
No, I thought you were going to, for a second, I thought you were going to do, because genuinely, again, not to sidetrack too much, but a couple of weeks ago when I was at work, genuinely, I had a guy ask me if I'd seen a film, and I said, no, I haven't. And he proceeded to explain the film to me, scene by scene. Like, he gave me, like, the B plot, the C plot.
What film was it?
I fucking cannot remember. I could not tell you. Because he was like, I'll tell you who was in it, though, like Jesse McCartney, or whatever his name is, like the naughty teen heartthrob. Guess what I said? He was like, that guy, have you seen it? And I was like, no. I was like, probably none of his films were really aimed at me. And he just went on and he started saying, he's like, yeah, it's about this and that happens. And then he comes over here and she does this. I'm like, all right. And then he just carries on. And it's like scene by scene. But like I said, I'm on the C plot. He's like, yeah, and all the while, our little brother. I'm like, bro, like, what if I want to watch the film, I'll watch the fucking film. But I guess there's no point now.
At any point, did you say anything to be like, mate, I'm really not interested?
All throughout. I think listeners of the pod know that I'm not one to...
I don't know. See, I think I'm the type of person in that situation. I just go silent and hope and I start doing other stuff and hope they get the hint that I'm not interested.
No, definitely not. I asked him if he's been paid to promote it or something. I was like, you fucking walk me through it.
Like, I was the sort of person at work that if someone was chatting to me too much and I had stuff to do, I just started walking away. No, I just started walking away and kept talking to them until I could no longer hear them, and then I was just gone.
Is that why you keep walking away from me?
Yeah, pretty much. There's a lady that I live near, and every time I walk past her house, for some reason, she's out the front. And she's a lovely lady, but just sometimes you're like, do you know what?
Not today, yeah.
And I have to take like one headphone off so I can hear what she's saying and pretend I want to have a conversation. But I just keep walking the entire time, and she'll be like, are you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And then, yeah, I'm just gone.
Yeah, I'll make you right. Anyway, sorry, massively sidetracked. What were we talking about?
That's what we do on the pod. Right.
Toby Maguire dancing.
Yeah. Toby Maguire's dancing. Yeah, just cringiest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Weren't great. It's all right. I didn't hate it, to be honest. It gave us memes. It gave us talking points.
I mean, yeah, it still crosses the internet to this day, to be fair. So I think probably the last question I had was, ultimately, who do we feel is the best Spider-Man?
Okay. I think...
I just saw you eyeing up my notes.
Fucking right as well. At least you've got some.
Come on, you know who your favourite is.
What does that say about me?
What?
I'm what?
It's just nothing about you. Not everything is about you, Jake.
No, disappointingly. One day.
Maybe.
Well, look, you've got the notes. You've got the list. Why don't you tell me your list?
Right. Well, I put at number 3 Tom Holland. And I love Tom Holland, but I felt he's had the benefit of studios working together. So, like, we've got to see him as an Avenger. And I think that's elevated massively, I think, his popularity overall. And I feel like he's had the benefit of having the studios working together. Otherwise, I think his films would have been incredibly similar to what we've already had. And I thought Homecoming was the weakest film overall.
So offended.
I put Garfield is probably the best actor, but was let down by a poor storyline, bad acting choices, and then, as we said, it was too busy in the films. And then I put Toby Maguire is probably the least talented actor, but for me gave a convincing performance of someone shy and nerdy, navigating life, other issues, loss, and then also coming to terms with being Spider-Man. Whereas I felt like with Andrew Garfield and with Tom Holland, we haven't even seen that journey. We've just come into it, and he's Spider-Man.
Should I tell you who would make, just listening to your description there of Peter Parker or whatever, should I tell you who would make a great Peter Parker pre-Spider-Bite? Michael Cera. Just awkward, bumbling.
Yeah, but the problem is he'd then be too ugly to be Spider-Man once he's Spider-Man.
Well, that's what I said, like pre-Spider-Bite.
Ironically, that's who they choose to play Toby Maguire in Molly's Game.
Is it?
Yeah, Michael Cera. He plays a bastard quite well, to be fair.
He plays a bastard really well in This Is the End.
That film's brilliant in all sorts of ways. I mean, it's god-awful, but it's good.
I love it.
So yeah, I mean that's sort of how I've ranked it. I've put Tom Holland last, Andrew Garfield second, and Toby Maguire. And I think also for Toby Maguire, he has the benefit of being the first Spider-Man I ever saw on screen.
Oh, you have actually seen these ones, have you?
Yes, I've seen all of the Spider-Man films.
Well, you say that.
You
say that,
but
I
don't. I still, to this moment, Jake, despite the fact you told me Tom Holland gets with the other girl in it, don't remember it. But that's not to say it didn't happen. I don't remember what I had for dinner yesterday. So.
Yeah, but no one invested millions, hundreds of millions of pounds in what you had for dinner.
Well,
maybe.
You don't know that I spent a lot of money on food, Jake. I tell you.
Put some Chinese
takeaways
through college. Right.
Sitting there judging me for my food choices because you've lost weight, you bastard.
Oh, listen, I judged you long before that, and I will judge you long after. Top 4. Because unlike you, I do include Nicholas Hammond. I think that's rude not to. Unfortunately,
I don't even know who fucking Nicholas Hammond is.
I don't respect him enough not to put him at number 4. He is at number 4 because I don't have any personal connection to him. I've seen.
You just want to be different.
I've seen parts of the film. It's okay.
You can't put him on the list if you've not even seen the full fucking film.
You did a whole episode on things you've never even seen. You can't be coming at me because I've not seen one film.
I have seen it. I forgot something.
Yeah, film.
I'm human. God damn it.
He's number 4. I'm not changing that. He's okay. I'll tell you. I think Andrew Garfield comes in at number 3, and I'll tell you why. I love Andrew Garfield, and he is my favourite Spider-Man, I think. But we're not talking about favourite. We're talking about best. And the reason...
See, I sort of did it in terms of favourite.
And the reason...
think that's what I feel. My favourite is my best.
Okay, well then there you go. There's a lot of crossover on your list. But for me, he's an amazing Spider-Man, but he's way too cool to be Peter Parker. No one is looking at... I'm not looking at Andrew Garfield and thinking, he struggles to get women. It's just not happening. And you know when
you're rolling with Emma Stone in real life, you can't pretend to be a nerd.
In the film when he stands up to their Flash Thompson with the basketball thing and the photography.
I mean, for starters, that Flash Thompson
the basketball thing with the photography
is not that intimidating. Really, he was like the whitest guy to go bald ever.
Also, by the way, 2 memorable moments that I didn't pick that I should have picked. One from Spider-Man 1, the tray. Catching everything.
Absolutely. And he did that. He legit did that.
I mean, I'll be honest, I have so much respect for that because for me, honestly, I'm quite competitive, so I would try and do it. After about 25 takes,
you give up.
I'm like, fuck this, we'll do it in like fucking post, we'll do it CGI. I'm not pissing around with this. To carry on and do it, if it's like 140 takes or something, it's
smash
incredible. But also, I really like the moment in The Amazing Spider-Man. All my moments are from The Amazing Spider-Man, but from The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, you're putting him third.
When he takes the ball off Flash Thompson and he goes to get it back, he's like, come on, get it back. Whoop! And he kind of like dunks it over his head. The moment for me,
smashes the backboard. The film that I like the most is when Flash tries to talk to him after Uncle Ben dies.
Yeah,
and he's like, not today, Flash. And then eventually snaps and like has him up against the wall.
Yeah.
And he's like, it feels better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He said, but, you know. And I think it's one of those moments you're like, oh, you bastard.
It's such a shame that we never got long enough of an arc with Tony Rivalorio, what his name is I really like him as an actor, but he's not going to be pulling this arc off because I'd have loved to have seen an Agent Venom story, like a side character down there.
I don't know Agent Venom.
Agent Venom is Flash Thompson after high school goes into the army and into the Marines and whatever.
Okay.
Very successful career. And the military sort of weaponise Venom.
Oh, and make him.
And they sort of give him a bit of the symbiote, and he becomes Agent Venom.
Okay, cool.
It's a really cool thing, and he's like a hero. He's a really good guy, and he's completely turned around from the dick he was in high school.
That's fair.
It'd just be a really nice story, but
that just wouldn't really fit in the film, would it?
But Andrew Garfield, you know, when he steps up to Flash Thompson in the playground, and first of all, Andrew Garfield doesn't belong on a playground. Look at him. But second of all, he steps up to Flash Thompson. I'm not thinking...
Well, I think that's also where he suffered in terms of not having a third film as well as the second not being well received, is the fact of how much older he is than Tom Holland, for example.
Yeah, and they tried to keep it college, right? Whereas at least Toby Maguire, they went... He's in high school for a little bit at the start.
Yeah, and then
he's in college. Then he's an adult.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
You know, the one for me... again, like I said, when he stands up to Flash Thompson, I'm not thinking, oh wow, that nerd's really having a heroic moment, standing up even though he knows he gets down. I'm like, oh, it's just a cool kid standing up against a cool kid. Like, they can do that. So I didn't really, but I loved him as his quips, like I said, him giving the mask and saying, look, I only wear it because I'm scared and it hides my face, and the knife thing.
I think what we've sort of said through this is, and probably Andrew Garfield had the potential to be by far the best Spider-Man.
Well, I don't think he did.
Oh, I think
because he was never cool. He was always too cool as Peter Parker. He was never going to be Peter Parker. He was an amazing Spider. He's the best Spider-Man. The worst Peter Parker. So on average, it brings him down to the bottom of the list for me.
That's fair. That's your opinion.
Second, Toby Maguire. Because again, I love Toby Maguire and I think he plays it really well in the version they did it. And the reason he can never be top, organic web shooters.
Why do you hate his organic web shooters?
Because a big part of the thing with Spider-Man is that he's, genius thing. He makes these web shooters.
Oh, do you feel because he's had it organically, he's
been robbed of that,
of his genius,
of being shown how clever. And obviously he is still shown he's very clever.
To be fair, in those films, he's not the most intelligent.
But also, there are moments when, like, for example, in the comics and the cartoons and stuff, one of the things that happens from time to time is certain strong characters will grab him and break his web shooters. And then he's doing this and it's like, well, fuck, I haven't got them. I've got to try and think outside the box. And again, it shows an intelligence of Spider-Man to be able to fight all up with an arm behind your back kind of thing. I think
taking it back to the Amazing Spider-Man, that was something that does stand out in those films.
When he's testing the web and
well, not even that. There's a moment where Electro's going to shock like 20 people on this flight of stairs, and somehow with just one web shooter, he manages to save all of them. And it's one of those moments. That was quite clever.
Because he knows the properties of electricity.
Yeah.
And I think he has that over the other two. I think Andrew Garfield was shown to be the smartest.
That's a fair criticism of the Toby Maguire version, because I definitely don't think he comes across as anywhere near as intelligent as the others. Probably quite the opposite, in fact. So I think that's a fair.
And then I think Tom Holland, and it's an interesting thing because Andrew Garfield spoke about sort of what went on to be the Tom Holland Spider-Man, because they said, oh, if you could team up with an Avenger, which would it be? And he actually made a point to say, well, it wouldn't be Iron Man. I don't think he'd like Iron Man. He's a bit too arrogant, too cocky, and that's not very Spider-Man. But I think you've got to think that it's not Spider-Man looking up to Iron Man in these films for me. It's Peter Parker looking up to Tony Stark. It's Peter Parker who's a kid who loves science, and who's also very clever, who identifies someone who's also ahead of his time and very clever.
Absolutely. And I think it's a bit weird that Andrew Garfield said that is because I think his Spider-Man is quite a cocky Spider-Man. He's full of quips. He's full of like arrogance, the things he does, the way he behaves. So I think that's quite a weird thing.
But it's a deliberate arrogance to cover up his insecurities, to cover up all that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's then weird to then
also
maybe that's a bit sour grapes. Do you reckon?
I think Tom Holland, when he looks at this was during the promotion for Amazing Spider-Man 2. So this was before,
really?
So
fair enough.
So that would have been 2013 that was done. So you're looking at Iron Man 3's been out, the Avengers has been out.
A long time ago, wasn't it?
But
So wow, he was Spider-Man pretty much before the Avengers came around then, wasn't he?
No, the Avengers. Well, yes and no. Yes,
it was at the start.
The Amazing Spider-Man was released in 2011. The Avengers came out in 2012.
Yeah,
but can't remember.
Do you think there was ever really a chance for him to have been kept on? What was it that had it? Was it just the fact the second film wasn't as well received?
Yeah, that, and I think that clearly wasn't the direction they wanted to go with.
Yeah, because obviously I think basically they needed someone younger that they could have involved with the Avengers films. Do you think so? I mean, another thing we can talk about quickly. I mean, no, sorry, finish what you were saying because obviously you're ranking them.
Tom Holland. So Tom Holland, I think, looks up to Tony Stark as well, because
I think that's quite a nice relationship.
Because Tony Stark, I think, for me, Tony Stark is open about being Iron Man. He doesn't live a double life. He has a double life.
Who he is.
He is living this entrepreneurial genius life and superhero life.
And everyone
But he's very open about it. And I think Peter so badly wants that. He so admires that, for me.
Well, I think that sort of comes full circle. This is what I wanted to sort of touch on was the next film that's going to come out.
I'm so excited for No Way Home.
Which
oh
its name
my
is currently
God.
escaping me. What's the name?
No Way Home.
No Way Home. And obviously we got ridiculously hyped. I don't know if anybody watching the pod saw it. There was a fake trailer released the day before the legit trailer. And you sort of know that I'm a bit... And it sort of said that the multiverse was going to come together. We're going to see Toby Maguire, Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland all on the same screen alongside Doctor Strange and all of this. And I think everyone knows I like a bit of a conspiracy theory. We then got the real trailer the next day, which sort of, having watched both, felt like a ramped down version. I don't know what you think. And to me, I sort of came away from it going, I actually now don't think that other trailer was as fake. It might have been put together and was fake in that regard, but in terms of what the story's going to be.
No, I don't think it is that. I think I've seen a lot of people talking about, and I agree with a lot of people out there that they're not gonna tease Garfield and Mcguire until the last round of press. They're gonna do trailer, get you all excited for it, and then just on the eve of the film opening,
you'll see a glimpse of them.
You'll see a little half a second at the end of the trailer,
where they look different, or there's some
a little bit older with their costume, and it's like, oh shit.
But what I mean is, do you think that's roughly what the story's going to be like? That we are actually going to see them? And
what I know,
because that's what I mean.
Yes,
I mean,
but
I think the overall what it's going to be is going to be vaguely similar in terms of they will be involved because
I think they'll come in for the final third. I don't think they'll be in it at all for the first 2/3 of the film.
No, but what I mean is they're going to be in it, and
I
overall
think so.
that story is going to be correct. That he brings the multiverse together, and they all sort of have to intertwine to sort of fix it.
I think what I love is that that you've got the whole thing of, I don't know if, I presume you haven't seen Loki.
No, I haven't. I haven't got around to watching it.
So, this is going to be spoilerific. If you want to put your fingers in your ears or turn down your microphone, feel free to turn down your headphones. So Loki ends with the multiverse being a thing.
Oh, so they've opened.
So it's
the
not a
door
thing,
for it.
And then it's a thing. And what happens is that Strange knows about the multiverse, whatever. And what I love is that, everyone's worried about Loki kicking off the multiverse or someone else pulling them together. And what it is it's just Strange, who is meant to be the most, responsible Sorcerer Supreme.
Being the most reckless.
He's basically been like, yeah, fuck it. I think we can do something. Fucks up the whole multiverse. Collides two of them. I think we will see the Spider-Man. I think we've already confirmed that Molina's in it and that Defoe's in it.
Right.
And what I really like about the Jamie Foxx thing is he came out he was like the first one to announce that he was in it. He announced it on Instagram and then had to delete the post.
He's thirsty, that bloke. He loves a bit of attention.
But he said, we're not doing the blue thing. It's going to play more comic than that.
Okay,
and I was like, good. I'm back on board. Because as earlier in the pod I mentioned, going straight to Hyper Electro, not a fan.
I just felt that arc was done so quickly in terms of this poor loser bloke turning into Electro. I just felt that was done far too quickly.
Agreed.
But as we said, that film was just busy in general.
Same with Spider-Man 3 though. Spider-Man 3 was super busy.
Oh, absolutely. And
it
I
suffered.
would say out of the three Toby Maguire films, it's by far the weakest one, I feel.
What do you make of the... I'm just while we're on it. So what do you make of the changes from the comic accuracy, which I'm sure you might not be as familiar with?
I'm not a big comic book person. My introduction to the superhero world was mainly cartoons.
I quite liked what they did with, for example, I quite liked what they did with the Michael Keaton Vulture. And I like that he has his back.
Well, that was the thing. I think I actually, again, done really well. We didn't go over best villains. We haven't covered best villains.
We did worse.
We did worse, but we've not done best. And I've actually put the Vulture, Keaton's Vulture, as my honourable mentions for fourth.
Okay, because I was going to say, because in the comics, Adrian Toomes is cancer-ridden.
Okay.
And it's a kind of like a...
So he's trying to earn some money before he...
yeah, that sort of thing. And there's various iterations of it,
so
trying to get drugs to save himself / trying to just, fuck it, I'll just go. So there's a kind of few different versions. But yeah, that kind of... a la Heisenberg.
Yeah, see, I thought Keaton... and also, there's a scene in that movie that I do like when he's taking his daughter to the prom.
In the car.
And he sends her off and says, I'm just going to have to talk with him.
Oh, yeah.
And he basically just tells him that I'll quite happily kill you if I have to. And he does it so well, and menacingly. It's very good. But I suppose as we miss that section, we might as well quickly bang through it now.
It's so odd though. We're so well prepared. I can't believe we missed something.
I put as best villain. I put at number 3 Dr. Octopus from Toby Maguire's films. I put number 2 as Mysterio because I thought Jake Gyllenhaal was just fantastic, and I liked what they did with it because I knew Mysterio was a villain from having watched the cartoon as a kid. And it confused me at the start of the film because obviously they play it off that he's a guy from another dimension or planet or something, and obviously he's come to try and help them save the Earth. So I thought that was done quite well in the film itself, so I enjoyed that. But I put as my number 1 villain Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin.
Okay.
I just think Willem Dafoe's a fantastic actor. I like how creepy he was going back. It didn't feel as cringy as when Dane DeHaan did it because he had those ridiculous ears and
I'm gonna try and go through as many as I can. Right at the bottom, Rhino, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Above that, Green Goblin, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Above that, now it gets a bit dicey.
Did you say Green Goblin was ahead of?
He's slightly better than the Rhino.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, we're talking
I don't
minimal
really care
differences.
enough about those two.
We're talking minimal
debate that
differences.
out.
Honestly, we're talking about comparing me and Kanye for the biggest ego. We're talking the tiniest fractious.
I would have to say Kanye beats you. To be fair,
Yeah, I mean,
I
Kanye.
think if you had his money, it would be close. But I think because he has money,
Thanks, man. It means a lot. That really.
I could just see you getting to a point where you talked in the third person all the time. And
Listen, Jake does what Jake wants to do. You can't stop Jake.
that's what I mean. So right, yeah, go on.
Okay, so what would I go from there? I'd probably go Electro, Hyper Electro,
Yeah, I'm not
Amazing Spider-Man 2. I mean, for all my love of Amazing Spider-Man, most of these have come from Amazing Spider-Man 2 at the bottom of the list. That's really holding up the base
The
here.
villains were really poor in that film.
Below that, I would say, then above that, I would have to say somewhere in there is possibly Harry Osborne's. I'm not sure what he was meant to be.
I think he was
Revenge Goblin.
I think you could call him Green Goblin too, probably.
I would never insult the character that way. Revenge Goblin, I'll call him. Vengeance
Okay, that's
Goblin.
fine. I would say he was Green Goblin-esque. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh yeah, but so Revenge Goblin. Then I would say above that, Eddie Brock, Topher Grace is Venom. Then above that, now we're getting to the good stuff.
Okay.
Then above that, Lizard, Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Fair enough. See, I felt I like Reese Ifans. Is it
Reese Ifans.
Reese Ifans.
Oh, no, I'll tell you that. I'll take it back.
Okay.
No, yeah, below him, Shocker 1. Then Reese Ifans' Lizard.
I think you're being very generous
Shocker
to what
2.
a villain is.
Then Shocker 2.
Okay.
Then above that, now we are getting to good stuff. Then Adrian Toomes, the Vulture.
Okay.
Then, and it's always going to be between these two at the top. Oh no, I'll tell you who comes in third. Sandman.
Okay.
So I thought they handled his arc quite well. He was competing against a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I think the actor didn't do a bad job, and there was an emotional arc to
But there
it.
was a nice tie-in with Spider-Man's journey of morality and questioning his place as
That's
Spider-Man. Then, I think, like yourself, I think Doc Ock in 2.
Yep.
And I think just Willem Dafoe, it was just...
What about Mysterio? You've not done Mysterio.
You're right. Mysterio is below Doc Ock and above Sandman because I love Mysterio, but
So
there's
you'd say
something
he's
about the
around
Doc Ock.
second, then Mysterio.
Third.
Okay, fair enough.
No, tied second. You're right. He's tied second with Doc Ock.
Yeah.
But Willem Dafoe, in the same way that I can't think of the guy's name. In the same way that he is J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, no, I can't remember his name either off the top of my head. He was in
J.K. Simmons.
That's the one.
In the same way that J.K. Simmons just is, there's so like Kevin Conroy as Batman, Mark Hamill as the Joker,
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Whenever I'm reading them, that's
You
whose
hear
voice
their
I hear.
voice. Yeah.
In the same way that he is that, Willem Dafoe was the way his face works, the intensity of him.
It works.
It was just made for Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
And Norman Osborn's descent into the Green Goblin.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
And they stayed pretty true to the comics in terms of the pushing himself to try and be better and
Yeah.
create the thing. So I think those are my villains.
No, I think that's fair, and I don't disagree with any of those. Particularly, I think you've been a bit generous as to what a villain is. You've included a few that I probably
Someone who fights
wouldn't
Spider-Man.
have. But no, that's fair enough. I don't. I think overall you've been quite fair.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think, guys, we're coming towards the end of things now. So we'd obviously love to hear what you think. If you think we're mad, whether you agree with anything, disagree with anything, and as always, you can hit us up and let us know what you think. Jake, tell them where to hit us up at. It will appear
in your
somewhere
homes,
at the bottom here.
probably. It's probably easiest to do it from home.
Yeah,
You
but
don't have to come out to us.
you know what to do. Give them the addresses. Give them the deets.
Well, you live at number 20. No, okay. The deets a little up here,
Yeah.
or here.
They
I wouldn't have
normally
done
come here at the bottom.
that. Like we do most weeks. No, I
Jesus.
can't help it. It just felt like we were doing such an innocent episode. And there was no sex joke, and I felt like I had to.
I thought
creep
we'd
one
done.
in.
To be honest, this episode's gone very well in terms of we've not really insulted anyone.
Well, you mugged off Nicholas Hammond, but that's one person. Considering we've
still
done
don't know who
nations,
he is.
considering we've done whole nations, that's not bad.
Yeah, limiting it. To
Also,
just
by the
one
way,
person.
while we're talking about Spider-Man, how amazing is it that the Amazing Spider-Man was directed by the appropriately named Mark Webb? Perfect, right?
Nice
Anyway.
little thing. But yeah, Jake, give them the deets. Come on.
You can. We would really love it if you went to @SwordsCrossing on Twitter.
Yep.
Tweet us. Let us know what you think of our selections. Let us know your own selections. You can find us on Facebook by searching Crossing Swords. Again, just let us know. We're Crossing Swords _podcast on Instagram.
Yep.
And we're Crossing Swords 19@gmail.com. Let us know if you've got any episode suggestions, because we'd always looking to hear from you guys and do those episodes.
And also, our next episode is number 69.
Yeah, is there a significance to that?
So we're planning to do an episode about sex.
Yeah, why is that?
69 is a sex position, Jake.
No, get out of town.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it a solo position?
No. It's between two people.
You can do it on your own. I can do it on my own.
It depends how
What is it?
dexterous you are. Well, I'll tell you what, Jake. We will cover it in next week's episode.
Appropriately worded, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, well, apparently 69 is a sex thing, so we're doing sex.
Just look it up, guys. Just look it up.
I just realised that
Just
I'd made the sex joke, and I just wanted to pull it back and pretend like we're actually not that dirty. We're quite innocent. We don't know about sex stuff, so...
no.
I've
Come on,
saved
everyone knows you've had a 69 in your time, Jake.
No one is looking at me thinking that I've ever hooked up with a woman, ever.
That's fair. Right, guys. So
I mean, try and defend me. Bro.
I've known you too long.
Yeah, fair enough.
But guys, as always, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us. If you could go to our YouTube page as well and check us out, because as you can see, we record all these episodes now, and we're really trying to work hard on improving things. So your feedback, your likes, your shares, your comments, they all mean absolutely the world, because it really does push us further. So yeah, keep smashing like buttons, keep sharing us. And
Yeah, we're quite ego-driven. If you want to just say nice things about it,
well,
it means a lot.
I think ultimately, the bigger we get, the better we can be, and the further we can push this. And I think we both like to push it. So yeah, you lazy bastards, start sharing our posts. But as always, thank you, and we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.